Hello, hope you're doing marvellously well. We're at the Tile Yard for Gearfest, and I'm with Christian Kohler of the Kohler Audio Co. How the devil are you?
I'm great. It's quite cold over here, I gotta say that. But I'm excited. A lot of great gear to check out.
This is a British summer. What are you talking about?
This is so cliche.
This is warm. I should be out in shorts, getting a tan.
Oh, I'm not used to it. It's very, very hot in Germany right now, so I was kind of shocked.
Yep.
But like I said, I'm excited because there seems to be a great place to check out some awesome studio gear.
Yeah, I've been to the Tile Yard, but I've never been to Gearfest, so this is going to be awesome.
First time for you and me.
Yeah. See, look, it's summer. I'm wearing sunglasses. Let's go in. We're going to grab a coffee. Here at Gearfest, dun, 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 at the Tile Yard in King's Cross in London, with Nick.
Nick Georgiev.
From Antelope Audio. How the devil are you?
I'm very well.
Well, you are clutching in your hands a Zen Quadro. We just reviewed the Zen Quadro. We did a cover of Stevie Wonder, didn't we? We love a lot of different kinds of pieces of equipment. What I loved about this, quite frankly, is I think you've brought your high-end stuff down to a level where it's a bit more affordable.
That's exactly what we did with it.
Yeah, and that's really, I think this, I love lots of various different pieces of equipment, but what shines this one particular product is I think this is the best in class at this price point. You did a really, really amazing job. People are loving it.
I think you nailed it. Basically, that was the idea with the Zen Quadro.
Yeah.
We wanted to have our highest range converters and mic pre's.
Yeah.
In a portable, affordable box, and we like to think about this interface as the ultimate solution under €1,000.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a desktop solution for anyone.
I think it's the mid-price, but with the higher quality.
That's exactly what
It's not
we
the
wanted.
entry level 200-300, but it's right slap bang in the middle, but it's got the sound of everything kind of a grand and more.
Right, so it's the converters from our Galaxy range and the mic pre's from our Discrete range.
Nice.
And what that means is that you get 75 dB of gain on all 4 mic pre's.
Yep.
And we've tested it with microphones such as the 7B, and you don't need an additional, booster device to make it work. There's no noise, none of that stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah, 75 dB. I think we talked about that on camera when we were testing it because, the industry standard was always 70 dB on an Eve, which of course is phenomenal. But you gave us an extra 5.
Yeah, just in case. Just in case you might have a ribbon or something, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of little fun things that you can probably talk more eloquently about, but I remember when we did the review, we didn't get to use it, but you can run different things in there, like an iPhone or something like that, or the fact you can have second USB source going at the same time, meaning you can have a redundant system, so you can be double recording, which is huge, number one. But secondly, you can feed other things in there, which is great for podcasters and people
podcasters streaming. So essentially, you've got 2 USB ports. One is for your main computer.
Yep.
Yeah. Second one could be a tablet. It could be an iPhone. It could be another computer. As you said, great for redundancy.
Yep.
But another thing that you could do, and I already tested it, it works like a charm. All you need is the Apple camera kit adapter if you're going to use an iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and so you go from the second USB port, well, if you have a new iPhone, you go straight USB-C to USB-C.
Yep.
But with the old one, you use the kit, you connect your phone, now you do whatever you want with the 4 inputs on the front and the back,
Yep.
You make a mix and you send it straight to your Instagram or TikTok.
Nice.
Or whatever, or you could just play something on a iPad.
So you can actually get
the feed in here.
quality results straight to Instagram or TikTok.
And all of that's available inside the control panel, so you can share the audio between the 2 devices, and you can process it with the built-in effects.
Great. Well, we're doing a giveaway. There will be a link down below to this actual one. He's brought this down. He actually drove down to give it to us for a giveaway, so I really appreciate that. Excellent.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
So enter down below. It's the usual one. It's basically a raffle. So the more things you do, the more tickets you get. But you don't have to do any of those things. You can just enter to win. Ian and Apogee, how the devil are you?
Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Great to see you at the show.
Good to see you. We're going to do a giveaway, aren't we?
We are going to do a giveaway.
Which is rather wonderful.
In fact, 2 things in one
Two
giveaway.
things?
Yeah. This is the Apogee Hype Mic, which is a USB microphone with an added feature of an analog compressor built into the mic. 3 different levels of analog compression that's in the mic itself.
Nice.
Beautiful for recording voice, for instruments, any kind of recording. iOS compatible, Mac, Windows, is a beautiful thing. And then this is a guitar interface called Jam-X. this has the same analog compression built into the interface. So for a guitarist, 3 different levels of compression on the front end.
You know I want to mess with it.
You can mess with it.
I see you got it all hooked up with GarageBand.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you guys, you got a Pacifica as well.
Basically, you're getting a bit of a compression on the front end before any recording software levels everything out, gives you just a little bit of pop on what you're recording. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Is this a limited edition in this colour?
It's not. This is the same colour. It's the latest versions of these two products.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I have to get one, but I'm not going to enter to win our own prize. Or maybe I will. No, of course I won't. That's silly. All right, we'll have to get some of this. This is really, really awesome. So not very heavy at all.
No, and it comes with some accessories. It comes with a little pop shield, comes in a nice carry case, headphone output on the bottom of here, so you can monitor what you're recording.
That's great.
Likewise on here.
That's great.
Yeah, really, really great devices.
I love the simplicity
and sound great.
of design.
That's the hard thing, obviously. You can't hear it here, but they sound.
Excellent.
Well, Apogee's heritage, they sound brilliant.
Well, we're big fans of Betty.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right, so you can enter to win both of these. Down below there will be a link. Please enter away. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks
I really appreciate it, Ian.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Adam Steele, everybody.
Hi.
Our cohort, who now works for Audient.
Do indeed. Welcome to our wonderful booth.
But you're still a Reaper expert, aren't you?
So I'm told.
You're the man. So, what's new and nutritious? What are you going to tell us about, young sir?
So the main thing that's new is Audio, which we'll cover in a minute because that's over there. But we also have very recently released the Evo 16 and SP8. The SP8 is the kind of the ADAT expansion. So the Evo 16 is an incredibly affordable, it's 18/8 out interface, but with all the optical goodness, it's 24/24.
Nice.
So with 2 of these SP8s connected, you can have, of course, 24 in 24 out for about £1,200 or what, $1,400, all in. And we're talking like, high grade.
We love it. We've done several videos on this.
Indeed,
from
you
the
have.
4, the 8, the 16. Absolutely superb. I'm glad you're still making these, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, because some of our early videos, loads of people came forward and said they bought them after hearing because it's so good.
People love them. They are, for anyone who doesn't know, the console behind us, they are those preamps. Not based on, not copies on.
I know that console.
Indeed you do. But they are the exact console preamps, lifted and transplanted into a 1U rack.
Marvelous.
So for anyone who likes the Audience sound but either doesn't have space or the means for a big boy console,
yeah,
you can get that sound.
Absolutely superb. And we're going to do a giveaway of what? What are we giving away, Adam?
As far as I know, we are giving away one of the Evo 16 interfaces to one lucky winner.
Okay.
So keep your eyes peeled and we'll put the details
Link down below
in the description.
To win one of the Evo 16s.
Yes, so you can have your 18/8 out recording up and running in no time.
Marvellous. I see you've got the console.
We do indeed. And the video that went up on the Produce Like a Pro channel of you with your ASP4816, I was behind the camera on that one, so I saw the entire.
You were Emma.
I saw it in real time. And of course, fantastic compact console. I mean, you know everything there is to know about this.
Yeah, gorgeous, absolutely fantastic. Well, some PMCs.
Indeed,
Lovely.
we love PMC and they love us, so we like working with them.
So don't forget to enter to win the Evo 16 down below. And check out there's going to be links down to the videos who've already done it, and of course Oreo, which has been a lot of people have been talking about it because it's who was I chatting to yesterday? They're going to get the Oreo to turn the whole room into immersive.
It's talk of the town. It really is. We're really happy with the response we've got for Oreo. You came to our Atmos room and saw it. Of course, the link for that will be there. But we've had great feedback. We've had some major software updates based on people's feedback. So now there's things like the low latency mixer, so you can use it as a tracking interface now.
Marvelous.
So it's now an all-rounder, but compared to any other Atmos solution that there has been, it's easy and it's affordable.
Very.
And that's really the bottom line, is that anyone wanted to get into it. And a lot of the major providers like Apple Music, they're giving out huge amounts of royalties now for Atmos, so it's becoming very much, this is what you should be doing. So we're in that space.
Enter down below to win the Evo 16.
And here's another wonderful giveaway, and this one is coming from one of my favorite microphone companies, from Austrian Audio. Look at this. This is not only a microphone, this is also a USB interface. It's called the MiCreator, and it's a very handy tool, especially if you're on the road or if you want to capture something really quick. Sounds great, surprisingly great, and it can be yours.
Alex, how the devil are you?
I'm well. It's lovely to meet you in person.
So we've been working together, like, I suppose in the modern way now, the online world. I'm going to take off the glasses. It's English summer, so you have to wear glasses.
It's funny, when I left my house today, I said, what's the weather, Google? They said, it's going to be 16 degrees, cloudy, potential rain, but 21 degrees at 6 p.m. So I'm thinking, what do I need to wear? Shorts, jacket, t-shirt, and some flip-flops.
For half the day.
Absolutely mental. Yeah, it's mad.
For half the day, it's going to be freezing, and then when you think it should be cold, it's going to be warm.
Yeah, literally. I'm a total nerd, so I'm actually loving this.
You're in gear nerd heaven.
Yeah, like literally, this is crazy. I mean, I go to bed every night, adding stuff into the basket, and everything's here in person. So I'm literally in heaven right now. This is incredible. But no, this is my first time actually coming here. Every time it was on, I was either out of the country or I was doing something else. But this is the first time I'm able to be here, courtesy of Warren, of course, which is amazing.
Oh, no. It's absolutely so much fun. This is the first time. I've been to the tile yard before. I've done some filming here. We did a production thing here. There's Christian Kohler, you see, just hanging out over there. But the first time I've ever been to Gearfest. Last year, I don't remember what we were doing, but same thing. I think we were out of the country or something.
Yeah, it's
so
great.
Super exciting. And we're standing in front of punk rock John Lennon. Who knew that he had blue hair?
With blue hair.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So it's been a blast so far, and we've only been here a few hours.
What are you most excited to see? Oh, are you allowed to say? Is it going to get you in trouble?
No, that's a good question. I haven't seen any new released for the show stuff yet, so I can't answer if there's something brand new, but it is always good to connect with the people that you talk to on via email.
Yeah.
Frankly, or Zoom.
Yeah, in our case. I'm really excited to see the Amphion 125As.
Well, we're going to go and see
old
Amphion in a
ones.
little bit. They're on the list. It is 140. If anybody wants to know the chronological order of it, and it's open till 6, is it?
Yeah. 6
Okay,
PM.
so we're going to go and see Amphion, and
It should be amazing. And also, actually, there's fellow YouTubers, I can't remember their names, but they have some speakers that they made.
We're going to go and see them too.
Yeah, that should
Mark
be
and
pretty
James,
awesome.
we're going to go and check out.
Three-way
Present Day
speakers.
Production, we're going to go and check out their speakers too. Where are they, in there?
They're just literally over there, but the room's so packed you can't get in. So you have to kind of wait till it clears out a bit.
Wow.
Yeah, so good going over there.
Okay, we'll do that in a minute. All right.
Should be nice.
Let's go and check out Focal. I'm here with Sylvain. How are you?
I'm fine, you?
I'm good. Great. Did you when did you come in? How'd you?
We arrived like 2 days ago, and we started to build the booth like yesterday morning. The morning was mainly about putting the speakers, the stands, the truss, everything.
Nice.
And the afternoon the calibration, and good to go.
Great. Are you living in like Saint Etienne or Lyon?
Yeah, I'm personally working. I'm the product manager at.
So you're
Focal.
over in Saint Etienne.
Exactly. So I'm based close to the
Were
factory.
you there when we came over?
You came like I think 3 or 4 years ago or something.
I think it was 2019. It was just before the pandemic.
just before the pandemic.
you-
Not yet, kind of.
Pre you then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You met Olivier in my previous meeting.
Yeah, Olivier, and he's no longer there, is he?
No, we moved to Australia, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had a beautiful time there. We really loved Saint Etienne and Bourbon-Lancy and Lyon.
Yeah, it's great video.
It's great to basically, this is a nice setup, it's great to basically go to a country and to a town and an area where you support the local economy. I mean, so many people from Saint Etienne work there.
Exactly.
All of these cabinets, all these beautiful, especially like the Grand Utopia, all of those cabinets are made there, they're handmade, and it's just, you make all your own speakers and everything. Yeah.
That's a great thing, yeah.
All your own drivers. So what do you got new?
So, not that well, we have the new Trio 6 here. So
Okay.
You did a video, like, I think, some months ago, just after the launch.
Yeah, we were at
Sweetwater.
Sweetwater doing a masterclass.
Exactly.
It was a crazy one. We're doing a masterclass, and we put them up, and we started using them.
Yeah.
And they had the huge ATCs, which are wonderful speakers, don't get me wrong, and we were just moving between them. And I will say it was a very private masterclass. There was only 6 people. I think 3 of the 6 people bought these speakers.
Yeah, Josh told me that. And that's
it was
that's
insane. People were like buying them there at the masterclass because they got to work. That's the thing, and it's very hard when you do speaker reviews because I can give people my opinion because I'm used to working in the room that I'm in, and I can listen to music that I've produced.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, that's of really good value because the only Other ways, like we just did a video where we stuck up a pair of spaced mics and we used the KU100, you know, the dummy head, the Neumann.
Yeah.
And that gives you comparative stuff.
At some point, yeah, exactly.
But nothing beats working on speakers.
Exactly. And that's a big thing, because that's why we are so glad that the speakers are working more and more, because I've been personally moving a lot in France, in Belgium. We sent a pair of prototype even before the launch, like a year before. We started a lot to be testing the speakers on site, on real studios, working with producers, mixers, and all those things.
Nice.
And it was really great. And now it's all the people really getting hyped with the speakers and feeling, okay, it sounds right. It not only sounds good.
The thing about Focal, and I've said this many times, because I love different speaker brands and different stuff. The thing that Focal has is you have the best high-end detail. What I mean by that is, like, I actually like mid-range forward speakers. I'm old enough to have grown up on NS10s. And the thing about NS10s is we know 7 dB lift, about 1.7K, 1.5K. It's like really mid-range focus, really brash. And so I developed those kinds of ears that's used to that forwardness. The thing about Focal, with whatever tweeters, whether the beryllium or the aluminium or whatever, is you don't just have mid-range and high-end forward. You have so much depth in your highs. Really, really incredible. You can sit there and hear the differences between different reverbs.
Yeah.
You can go, oh, I've got this reverb on the snare, I've got this reverb on the vocal, I've got this reverb on the acoustic guitar, whatever it might be, and you can actually hear where they're placed. That's something that's very unique to you guys. When we did 3 sets of speakers, we shot them all out and flattened them. So all 3 speakers
same frequency response.
More
or less.
Sounded flat in the room. Your speakers are the ones that kept the characteristics. Even though they all read the same like this, and like you'll still have that depth in the high end. And I think that is, for younger people coming up that haven't been abused by NS10s and the sort of mid-range forwards, I always recommend that they look at modern speakers.
Definitely.
Speakers with this kind of detail. There's no reason why you need to be growing up on a pair of like really abrasive high-mid speakers anymore.
No, for sure.
You know, you can now actually decide where to place things in your mix. So,
definitely.
yeah, great speakers.
Thanks a lot. And like I said, we've been working a lot on those, and still keeping the accuracy on the mid-range. So we improved a lot also the mid-range compared to the previous model.
Great.
So now we have a really accurate mid-range too, because I wanted to keep something still not too much flattering, too much with too much excursion and too much.
I got to ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
I got so criticized for setting them up like this and not having the high mids and the high end being on the outside.
Yeah.
So what is your logic for the people that are looking at this and a little mystified as to why the speakers are set up with the low end on the outside and the high mids and the high end on the inside? What is the reasoning behind this?
Well, the funny thing is, we usually say that it's better when the woofer is on the outside. It is purely, I would say, a feeling. It's not only about the measurements. But at some point, well, I guess at this price point, it makes a lot of sense to just measure. And sometimes, depending on the room modes, the space you have on the desk, and the stands you have, and I don't know, sometimes, well, you could put the woofer on the inside, it could sound better. In our room, we have a dedicated control room at Focal. You saw that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful room, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, it sounds better with the woofer on the outside.
Right.
So, it's like
That's what you do. But it sounds better. Why do you do it? Because it sounds better.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, and also on the measurement, we can say that. Like regarding the room modes, it's a bit more even, thanks to having the woofers on the outside. But I mean, I've been placing those speakers on many rooms, and sometimes each time I go to a room, I don't decide, okay, the woofer will be on the outside. No, it depends. I put the woofer, measure, listen, and then flip them. And is it better? No. So I mean, at this price point, it makes a lot of sense to be really taking the time you need to place the way they should be. Same thing about the backhaul. Like, do they need to be that far or really close to the wall? So, I mean, honestly, it's really room dependent.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Thanks ever so much. I noticed you've got the setup for immersive. Is this online or is this stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a 714 with trio sixes on the left and right, twin six on the center, and solo sixes for the surrounds.
I already know this is going to be insane. Do you listen to a lot of Skrillex's stuff?
Yeah, but the weird thing is, growing up British and going to America and listen, it always felt like second-hand news from Britain.
Got you.
You know, it's like hearing like grime artists. You're like,
True.
You've really got to be from Croydon, you know what I mean?
So I love bass. Oh my days. And this room is huge.
So that's subwoofer.
I'm actually not ready for this. This is insanity. This is going to be so mental. I know it's going to be so mental. She's crazy. Yeah,
Do you know how we
that's
call it?
Really good. What do you call it?
Well, that's
Oh,
a
yeah, the
listen,
Listen Pro.
professional.
Yeah,
Right?
Listen
but
Professional.
I call it the Swiss Army knife headphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's indestructible. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, so you're not
Yeah.
breaking these?
No, I'm not.
Wait, how?
But
Is
it's
that
really-
rubber? What is this? Is it a secret? You're not allowed to give it away? No, but that's
and in
crazy.
fact, yes, we're giving it away. I mean, one pair of those. for
This
the
is
community.
incredible.
Yeah.
Do you know what got me about these, listening to them? Because I was listening to it. A lot of headphones, I noticed they'll get bass great,
Yep.
but they don't get panning and spatialization. And this song's got a lot of panning information in it. I'm listening to it and I can hear the articulation and the different things going from left to right. I was just like,
Fantastic.
okay, these are great.
Yeah.
How much are these?
$259, that's the retail
good price.
price. Yeah,
That's a good
and it's
price.
delivered with a hard case, right? 2 cables. You can even have this little insert where you can put your ILO key so you
Also,
don't lose it.
I know they can't see on camera, but these weigh nothing. And most of the time you get headphones that are super light, they're rubbish if we're being honest, because they haven't put anything in them. But these actually weigh nothing and they actually sound really good and you're not gonna break them.
Nope.
And you said you're giving a pair away.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, you need to get your hands on these, because if not, I'm taking them, I can tell you that for free. Amazing. So check the link down below to enter the competition to win a pair of these. Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic.
All right, Nate, what have you got?
So what we got? What are the
What we
goodies
got?
that we have?
You tell me.
Welcome, first and foremost.
Thank you.
We have been so honoured to be hosted by Make Noise Pro Audio as well.
Lovely.
They have the new RS 660 on show here today.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it is a.
We were talking about this when we were with Wade.
Yeah.
At Chandler, of course. And
Yeah.
it wasn't out then, was it?
No,
It was
that's
about
right.
to be.
It was
And
about
now
to
it
be
is.
released. That's it. Transformer balance, tube compressor, a bit of backstory. When developing the 660, Wade was actually going back and forth with the original tubes, the 6386 tubes.
Right.
And he was going back and forth with the vintage style and the modern style tubes.
Right.
And he quickly discovered that they sound nothing alike.
Oh, okay.
Right,
So
he wanted to concentrate on a more refined version.
Okay.
So he now has used the RS124 circuit to start off with, and
Right.
then he's opted to use 3 tubes, both new and old.
Okay.
And then for a span of 3 years, he meticulously developed the RS660 to sound, to match the character of the original 660 as well. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
So basically, this is more
this approach.
Fairchildy, is what
Correct.
he's saying. He's not saying the word Fairchild. I am, but yeah, it's. This is great. How much?
Yeah.
Do you know how much these are going to retail for?
Yes, they are 3699.
Okay.
You have the step version as well,
Yeah.
which is 4499.
Right. Right.
And then you also can have a stereo match pair that's coming at 9499. So considerably a lot cheaper.
a lot
the
cheaper
original.
than original Fairchild and even
Correct.
the reissues.
Exactly, precisely that.
And knowing Wade, it's going to blow everything out of the
Yeah.
water. Yeah, we love what he does.
Yeah.
It was so much fun
Fantastic.
flying out there and hanging out and seeing what he does out there.
Oh, good stuff. I haven't actually had the pleasure of going there.
Wade, come on!
Yeah, get me out there.
Come on!
man.
Yeah,
Get
no,
me
it's
out there,
beautiful.
but no, a fantastic box.
Yeah,
as well.
that's absolutely amazing. So congrats, that's
Thank you
absolutely
very
superb.
much. It's
What else you
really
got
cool.
going on? That's the new thing?
Up here as well, so you know the rest of the stuff. Okay, but
Yeah.
so we have the TG mic Type L.
I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah,
Well, I have.
so-
I saw a prototype.
It's here. So now this is actually the stripped back version of the TG mic.
Yeah.
Same capsule, same topology.
Great.
But this is like their workhorse microphone. So very good at a numerous amount of sound sources.
How much is this going to be?
This is $899.
Oh, dude.
So, hey.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a dual tone mic.
Yeah.
Means you've got system A and system B. System A is more of a mid-forward kind of focused, and then system B is more of your ribbon style as well. So it can handle really high SPLs as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, if you want to go really extreme with it, whack it on system B, and then have the pad in there, and it can far supersede your likes of your FET 47s.
Again, at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, at the fraction of the cost. 100%.
Really, really
But
nice.
this is their all-purpose kind of microphone. Great in guitar cabinets, great on kick drums. So yeah, very proud
Who
of this.
doesn't want to own something which has both Chandler and Abbey Road's logo
Exactly,
on it?
that's
Sorry.
right. They say that Chandler is the continuation of the Red and the TG team at Abbey.
I know
Yeah.
how closely they work.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny because I knew Wade
Yeah.
independently, and I knew Abbey Road, but I went through Abbey Road
Right.
to get back to Chandler. That's how close they
Oh
are.
wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're going to do a giveaway, yes?
We are going to do a giveaway.
What are we going to
Yeah,
give away?
Well, we are going to give away a TG mic Type L. That's right, you got it here, right here in the flesh.
I can't actually enter our own giveaways. That's not
You know
legal.
what? Should we make it this one as well?
Make it this one as
The
well.
one that you've actually touched.
Now nobody's going to enter. Nobody's going to enter. They were going to enter, and then they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
definitely.
you won the Warren touch." No, it's amazing. So enter to win this very microphone.
That's correct, yeah.
There will be a link down below. Enter to win this beautiful, beautiful mic. Well, thanks. Anything else you want to tell us about while we're here?
We just got the rest of the gigs. Everywhere has the curve bender, inductor based EQ.
We love the curve
fantastic,
bender.
and the Xena. But no, the main focus today would have been the RS660, which we're very proud.
No, it's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing.
Nate, thank you
very much for having me. Like I said, it's actually a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
real pleasure.
Take
Link
care.
down below
Yeah.
there. So we're Thomas from Warm. How are you?
Hey, Warren, how are you doing?
I'm good. I want to ask you some questions. You know what? I haven't yet, going to believe it. There's a few things I haven't tried. Now, obviously, I demoed this, the WA1B. I also demoed this, which was a lot of fun. We did a Cure cover, I believe, using this, which was a lot of fun. The B12s, when these were orange, this was like the first thing that Warm did, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So, believe it or not, I skipped this generation. So, I mean, they're essentially 312s, if I'm allowed to say. Am I allowed to say that?
Probably.
Really, really kind of effective, price range-wise, a really good entry kind of into the market, yeah. I'm going to let Alex come in a moment and talk to you about pedals and microphones. We actually were just at Warm 2 weeks ago, and we did a shootout with all the mics, which was really, really interesting. We were really, really impressed with the mics for the price range. This I ended up using, actually, now I come to think of it, on a pair of guitars. I was really, really happy of how fast the transient response was and how forward it came in the mix. Used this, the 1B on vocals. This I didn't use on that particular master thing, but I really like this for coloration because I actually own the original Ampex.
That's it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it because of the saturation.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's say, for instance, like placing an overhead mic, a room mic for drums.
Yeah.
Giving it a bit of saturation and pulling it a bit more into the drum mix.
I have a pair of the original Ampex that this is based on. So it was really interesting. And mine are also modded to have compression on as well. So I'm very, very used to it. What I often wonder, and many people do, like, if these came out without the emulation of it, I think they would sell just as well as kind of for the coloration they give.
Yeah.
I think there's always that comparative thing that goes on when people think clones.
Yeah.
But both these units are two of my favorite kind of coloration boxes, if you like.
Glad you like that.
Yeah, particularly this.
Yeah.
Yep. And then obviously single channel over here. I used the stereo one. Joe Carroll used the mono one and demoed it. For LA2As, for instance, I've always never wanted. I have one. It's very expensive, but I never really justified needing one. They just seem to be too expensive for what they are. So buying something that's significantly cheaper always makes sense. And everybody knows my feeling on the 1176s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super fast, you know. Just had a guy here who was asking, like, want to use it for bass. I was like, go for it. It's that fast attack. And
well, for the LA2As, going back to the LA2A for a second, Dave Jordan used to use this for a bass DI, and he actually plugged into the back of it for the DI, and then just cranked it up. Yeah, so cranked up the gain and just goes straight to the back. So if you do have an LA2A on hand, just try plugging straight into it on your DI. That is going to give you like Allison Chains, Jane's Addiction, bass sound. That's what he used.
Oh, great crunch sound,
really amazing.
So Warm Audio are actually going to be giving away this emulation of the U67 mic, which is absolutely incredible. So if you want to get your hands on this, then check the link down below to enter the competition. And it doesn't just stop there. It actually comes with the cables as well. So that's a point to keep note of, because a lot of times you buy a microphone and you're like, I can't plug in, there's no cables. But Warm Audio being the gentlemen that they are, have actually made sure to provide some cables for you here as well.
So I heard you like pedals as well.
Yeah, no, I do. I love pedals, because I recently got this Moog synth. Now, it's a mono synth, Moog Grandmother, but it has so much flexibility because it's like semi-modular. So I was playing around with some pedals. I had this like Big Sky pedal that I was using with it, but I really needed a distortion. And actually this, because there's a video I think that has like audio examples. I'm in love with this. This thing, I'd never heard of it before, but the tone of this was unbelievable.
The tone of it was actually, because, you know, I'm a guitarist in a punk rock band, you know, so I'm very pure. I take in my Gibson guitar, I'm using a Marshall amp and a cable, you know, and that's all. And I was like, I'm not a pedal geek at all, you know, but then this pedal came out, and I noticed that I can color up my Marshall sound a bit and boost it a little bit more. And since then, it's
amazing
fixed on stage.
I love how warm it is. Sometimes when you add a lot of distortion, it gets really aggressive in the top end, especially in the upper mids. But with this, I noticed that it was just smooth.
Calm and smooth, you know. You know what I also like about it? If you like put it in, like lower gain, and you crank up the output a bit, you can boost your clean sound.
So you can use it just like an amplifier.
Like a boost for your clean.
So it's versatile.
And that's
the back here. Mod. What's Mod do?
Actually back in the days when Jeff Beck wanted to mod it a bit, and this is actually what we took in here. But I tell you, if you once switch it on, it never goes back again. Yeah, it's kind of like boost your sound a bit.
It's like a different tone.
Come up with some not too harsh mids. Some smooth mids into it, and you'll keep it on all the time. You never switch it off again.
Well, I actually can't wait to be trying this out. So hopefully I can get my hands on one.
Chris,
Warren,
how the devil are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
And I love the fact now we went from a couple of years ago only seeing you in the US. Now I'm bumping into you everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah, they seem to make it around. So
tell us what you got.
Well, we're here with their Audioscape UK team, and this is actually their racks, their demo racks here that they have. And
I'll take it home later.
Yeah, just take it. Just put it in the back of your card. We actually have our new prototype for the MK609, which is coming out later.
When is that coming out?
It's coming out in either late August or early September, so very soon, like end of summer. And it's going to be a treat when this finally does come out, because for the last few years I've just been sourcing all these rare parts that were used in the original, like the old silver can dual FET. You can see we even have the same, the power switch has the same locking mechanism as the original. It's the same exact power switch that was used on our metal knob.
Nice.
Even the power bulb's the same. So we'll document all this
details.
Stuff.
We like the details.
Like original issue BC184C transistors. We really went ham on it.
I really need to hear this. I'm one of the few people that was never a 33609 user. However, I did have the single U versions, a BBC one that was from BBC Manchester that was brown and yellow. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah.
I think when they're called 3114As or something, or Bs. I think.
Yeah.
And they were literally just a single channel.
Yeah.
You know it. And I swear blind, because everybody thinks of this as a bus compressor. I swear blind, on guitars, it's probably the single best compressor I have ever used.
They're so versatile.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that surprised me too. And they are great on bus too. Like this in particular, like either the bus comp or this, like sort of duke it out for bus duties for me, depending on the source material, like what it is, you know.
These compressors are so versatile, and they get not marginalized, but they get pushed on as being considered like the bus compressor. Like, are you going to use a 33609 or SSL 4000? How about just using it on everything? Really, really great compressors on individual things. Can you use these as dual monos?
Yep,
yeah,
dual mono. There's even there's a quad jack on the back, just like the original.
Yeah.
We actually added some useful features. The attack, there's actual variable comp attack times now with these little toggles. They're very discreet, so it doesn't disrupt the original look of the original vintage unit. But there's also like sidechain high pass right here.
Nice.
On these.
How much is it going to be?
We're looking around $17.99 US.
That's really good. So for $1,800, about £1,500, go to dual mono and you've got two world-class independent mono compressors, or you can use it on your bus. But if you think about it in that way, that's really cheap for two incredible compressors.
Especially all the vintage parts, the original parts that were in there.
Dude.
It's a no-brainer. You know, I'd be on it, you know. And
that's amazing.
And then we have this new DAM 27.
What is that?
Oh,
of course I know what it is.
Yeah,
I did
the commercial at NAM.
Yes, that was so much
You were the one
fun.
who unveiled it. Yeah,
that was amazing.
This is a stereo preamp actually, and this is quite a budget unit. I think they're selling it for Gearfest price here is pretty cheap, but it's 1149 pounds for here in the UK.
So like 800 for a pair. Nice. High pass, low pass. Yeah, pair, phase.
Yeah, you can run your mix through it, and it's really what's great about it is it's based off the old Melcore 1731s.
Yeah.
Different vibe than the API 2520.
Yeah.
The highs are not as present. It's more smooth up top.
Yeah.
The mid-range is so rich and complex. It's really a lovely preamp. And
wonderful.
And we built it like it's a late 60s op amp with like carbon composition resistors, all the quote-unquote mojo parts. You know, I'm just a sucker for those old parts and wide tolerances.
Most people building quote-unquote clones are looking for cheap versions of existing stuff. He's looking for the original parts.
And they're looking for like precision things that are like super tight and like it's almost like vinyl. Like you want to accept like that variance of like things. Maybe, you know, not being every single piece is different in a little bit of a way, which a manufacturer doesn't want to say. You know, but I think that's cool and unique because that piece is unique to you. That's your own piece of equipment. So it doesn't matter if a plugin's modeled after one thing. It's just that's what that one thing is. But if you buy a piece of hardware from Audioscape, it's going to be a unique piece just to you.
Yeah.
So
we should definitely be encouraging people to try this out. If you can, try out this hardware reverb. It's really superb.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and there's nothing else like it being made even today. I mean, the spring assemblies are made from hand, you know, from scratch. And we've detailed this process. We should probably even put it on the product page for the video, but yeah, it's 4 sleds, 3 springs, all different timings, creating like a mathematical formula that's equally tempered. It's lovely.
Awesome.
And we have our classic units here, of course, which we've talked about many times.
Yep. All of which are really beautiful.
Yep.
But don't forget this. Remember our review on the 260? Absolutely superb. I mean, you get a 160 classic VU sound stereo pair without the buzzers and the clicks. Clean as a whistle, but still sounds beautiful. Great work.
Yeah. And it won't take a dive on you like the vintage ones do, you know? Especially the output mute circuits used to fail on the vintage ones and the meters in particular.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the meters are like not working.
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, don't really talk much about blue stripes. You know, I grew up on these, and literally, I mean, every studio I went to.
Yeah, everyone's got the black LN, you know, version.
Yeah, and I'm not like an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I don't honestly. 1176, I've heard subtle differences. This presumably is the D, hence that. But first of all, we're going to do a giveaway on this, which is absolutely amazing. Joe Carroll, obviously, is an amazing talent, and he loves these and has done video content with you on it. But treat me like an idiot, because I kind of am. I don't really know what the magic is behind the blue stripe. What is it?
The magic is the character, especially the aggressiveness of it.
Yeah.
It's very well suited for vocals, obviously. That's why it became such a popular vocal compressor. Think about the input section. It's being hit really hard, like 5 dB harder on the input.
Okay.
In this revision, they sort of dialed it down. Let's tame it down a little bit for this rev, you know, when they got to the D. So it's very, so it just...
It's a little crunchier, just starts there.
It's so aggressive.
Okay.
Right, in a good way. That's just really, if you want your vocal to stand out and just smack you right in the face, it's going to do that.
Now I've got to get one.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One thing, I mean, even on these 1176s, I always feel like everybody always wants to go full on, and the attack control is so useful.
I'm always fastest release time. That very rarely gets moved unless I'm playing a special effect. But my attack, that's the thing about 1176. So letting that little bap, bap, bap go through is just beautiful.
So nice.
I hover around about here on vocals.
That's just, that's the sweet spot right there.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Definitely. Because
I mean, pretty much if you look at 1176 compressor, and most of it's going to be that. Yeah.
And not only when you do that with what you're talking about with the transients on the attack, when you do that, you're actually getting a better signal to noise ratio.
Right.
So it's two things. You're killing two birds in one stone by doing that. So
I actually didn't know the +5 input. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, some people they're almost off-put by that because they're so used to this rev and the fact that it's just so, it is more grabby, because of that, but that is the sound. A lot of times just cover the meter. It's going to be ducking down. People don't realize that. I could talk about just meter scales in general.
Sure.
Because meter scales are so different between say this and the V comp, the stay level's got a 40 dB meter scale.
Yeah.
So 10 dB of compression on that's barely moving, it feels like, compared to this where it's just all the time. So people get used to these sort of meter scales and then you get something like that where it's such a wide range,
Excellent. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah. I could geek out on this all day, Warren.
Good job. So here we are. We're at Gearfest, which you probably know if you've been watching this video. Mm-hmm. And it is now nearly 4. I have to go and do a panel in a few minutes. Have you had fun? Is this your first year here? Or
No, it's the second year that I've been here. Yeah, a lot of fun, actually. The weather's great. People are fantastic. And we have the opportunity to bring a 1608 Mark II to England, which is great.
Marvellous. As anybody who's ever watched our channel knows, I think our one was 003. It was definitely in the first 10 that we bought for the second Fray record. So I know this console intimately well, although this, of course, is much flashier than the one I used. The one I used was basically pretty much the same to about here.
Yeah.
Now this is Fader Ride, not flying, no?
Final Touch Automation.
Great.
Which I know we've chatted about before, but...
let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's cover it.
So we have digitally controlled motorized faders. There's no VCAs. These are still analog faders if I were to turn the power off of the automation.
Great.
So we have automated control in the analog domain of fader, mute, and insert on every channel.
Great.
And also the 4 stereo returns. So that's different from the one that you had with the Fray.
Yeah,
in that you had 8 mono returns. We give you 4 stereo with full 100mm automated faders.
Plus I had groups here.
Okay. Yeah.
So you've got the computer here as well, but your group's now coming back. You've got busing here.
Yep, so our 8 bus masters are here. We've got 2 group master faders that are right here, but actually any fader on the fader deck can be a group master.
Okay.
So I could do a stereo pair here with 8 and 9 and just control it with 9 if I wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, what I loved about this, and I've said this every time I review and talk about this console, but I will do it again, I used every inch of this. It's just because, all the EQs are beautiful. Everybody loves API EQs. Not everybody loves API mic pre's and EQs. Why wouldn't they? Because they've cloned about 4,000 different companies have cloned them, so there must be something about them. But we used auxiliaries. We were busing. I remember we had toms top and bottom. We were using the auxiliary sends to bus them to 1, for instance, as well as using groups. I love the fact I would come straight out gain into the DAW and actually have the fader for return. So it allowed the band and the producer to feel like that they were part of it doing their rough mixes here. And that didn't stop anything. They could grab a fader and turn something up.
Yeah, brilliant.
And this gain pot here was my domain. Like, do not touch this, do whatever you want down there.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very flexible console in a small format. And even though it's not cheap, it's still incredibly affordable considering, look, There's a couple of console manufacturers here, and there's no accident that you're both together. I mean, when you think of tracking consoles, it really is only one of two names that consistently comes up. And if you want bang for the buck and you walk into a studio and you see an API, everybody goes, oh, it's a real studio.
Yeah, absolutely. This is our best-selling console of all time, and we have over 700 units sold in 15 years. So
nice.
We're very proud of this one. So,
good job.
And now with the Final Touch automation, we have that in all of our consoles, and of course the big brother to this would be the 2448. Which we'll have to have you back to talk about that one time.
We do. We have to come out. I'd like to be invited out to your factory.
Well, this is your official invitation, Warren.
On camera.
On camera. Please come to the factory.
Okay, let's do that. Let's make that happen.
We'll do it for sure.
Okay, good. Well, Dave, thank you ever so much, as ever, for taking us around.
Anytime.
Any excuse to talk about the 1608, which we've probably now talked about 100 times, but we don't mind. And football, yeah. And you'll be watching this on Monday, and half the comments will be ha ha ha, or yay, or a combination thereof. So we're sitting here with the rather wonderful Marcela Rada. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing marvelously well, and it's the Tile Yard. Have you been here to Gearfest before?
Not to Gearfest, but this is an area where lots of creatives, engineers, lots of music industry people gather to work. There's lots of studios. It's something that happens all year round, that people come here to work on music industry projects. So,
and there's gear companies, Spitfire Audio's here.
Yes, exactly. So lots of offices here.
Yeah.
So I've come here for different projects and things like that. But yeah, I love that Gearfest also happens here. It's a perfect place, I think, in London to have this.
I've been to Tile Yard for exactly the same reasons. We came here, we recorded some stuff, we did studio tours. We've been here for the work perspective. And this is the first year at Gearfest. I know it's the third year of them doing it. But so far, I've been really impressed.
Yeah, it's great. It's my first time. I was invited to speak on a panel, and it went really well. So lots of people come here to really learn and network, and it's great.
Well, if people don't know you, you are an engineer and producer and mixer. You are also an educator. And you just mentioned that you're a researcher.
I am.
So what are you researching?
Well, I'm currently doing a PhD at the University of Surrey, which is a university that has a history and Tonmeister program. So it's a great place to study audio specifically. But I am doing a PhD that is focused on creative workflows and guidelines for immersive music production. I have been researching spatial audio technology for years, actually since like 2015 or so when I discovered binaural recording. And I've focused, for my master's, I focused on VR, AR, and that world. And I taught at the university level for some time, and then I decided to go back to school and do the PhD because I really want to focus on doing the research on how to educate people when it comes to immersive music production. We know that the technology is developing. It's new for music, for commercial music, for streaming platforms, and I want to influence academia and the music industry so then we do this whole process properly, and I think education is a huge part of it.
I agree. What's been great and just an obvious thing is now the music industry as a whole is coming together. And I say that because when I was a kid and I was in bands and we had record deals and stuff like that, you didn't really talk to gear companies because you didn't want to be seen to be tied to anybody. It was all like everybody had to be. Now it's just one big business. Yeah. So you can be in a band. You can be sponsored by specific gear companies. You can also educate and help people. You can also, pretty much everybody in a band is also an engineer and a producer and a mixer and a songwriter as well as being a musician. Mm-hmm. I love that part of it because to me that was always what interested me.
Exactly, and for me, I'm working with everybody.
Great.
Because the idea is to inform. Like if we all come together, we can actually have some kind of standardized process. And I don't say everybody's gonna work exactly the same way because that's not realistic. But we need to come together so then the format can actually stay and work and people can experience it properly. And that includes the streaming platforms, the hardware developers, the software developers, everybody, and then the creatives, the artists, the composers, and then the engineers, of course. So we all need to work together, and for that reason, I am open to all kinds of collaborations.
Absolutely. When I think of all of the positive influences I've seen in the music industry is when people fully understand each other's roles and each other's specialities. And then when I see the kind of negativity and they're trying, it's usually because they're very in one set direction and thought process, and there's so much beauty in what's going on at the moment. I think the accessibility is incredible.
Exactly, yeah.
And some of the best music I've heard has come from people sitting in bedrooms with very limited amount of equipment. And that limitation, but the ability to access is kind of a beautiful thing now. It allows them to push down boundaries and create music that's never been created before.
I agree. As an educator, I try to encourage my students to really get creative. And part of that is for them to understand the technology well, so then that's not a limitation or a distraction.
Agreed.
You know, they understand the technology, and then that's just behind it. It comes behind them. Comes natural to them. And
barrier to entry is so low now. If you know your DAW inside out, then you're just listening, and then you're using tools to express what you hear in your head.
Exactly. So then you can just get creative, and you get all these ideas, and then as you use the technology, you might start using it in a way that no one has used it before, and I think that's what's fascinating about it, you know.
Have you had a chance to walk enough around Gearfest to have anything jump out to you that you think is really interesting?
No, not yet. I did the talk, and then I just kind of walked around. I haven't yet, but lots of companies to check out for sure.
I keep getting asked the same question. What's jumped out at you? I don't know yet. I feel like if next year, because obviously this is not going to come out for a couple of days after, but next year I would suggest people come here because they're going to get to have a tangible experience with stuff they've heard about. Like go to the Focal booth and hearing the Focal speakers, Neve's over there, you can go and play with some of Neve's stuff. There's Neumann over there. You can go and try out the equipment that you can only dream of and see, is it something that's for you?
Yeah, and if you're looking into actually buying things, this is the best place because you get to try it out and you're not just relying on word of mouth. Or you gotta listen to equipment with a goal in mind. You know, I want to do this for my productions. This is what's going to allow me to do that, but you can't decide that until you actually kind of listen to it and try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been rather wonderful. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
How was your talk? I didn't get to see it because we were filming.
It went very well. We had very different perspectives. So we had Caroline Hilton, who came from Universal, so she had the record label perspective.
Right.
I had the research academic perspective. Then we have Helena, which who is an artist who is working with immersive technology, and she composes and performs with the technology. And then we had Miles.
Is she writing and recording with that in mind?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's refreshing.
So that's exactly. And then we had Miles from Dolby Atmos. So we all had different perspectives, and it was a really good conversation.
Now I wish I'd been there to see it. We were off doing a thing. It's the only downside of Gearfest being only one day is the fact that you can't do everything.
And you come here and time just disappears. You start walking around, next thing you know, 2 hours went by and you were just looking at gear. But we're obsessed with it, so it makes sense.
Great. Well, thanks ever so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will put a link to your Instagram is really vibrant, so we'll put a link down to that. You can check that
Marcela Rada, everywhere.
Okay, great.
Sounds good.
So what we're listening to is a three-way system, right?
Yeah.
So the MX65 is the first Augspurger small speaker, right? This is 1 inch bigger, 1 inch taller than an NS10. It's a 6.5-inch woofer. It's got a 3-inch beryllium compression driver, and diaphragm with a compression driver, and then a 12-inch sub. Our amplifier is the same amp that we drive the big double 15, double 18 with, or even quattros. And what I found was I had this driver developed for us and it itself can handle 400 watts, and we're driving it with 800 watts. So I have a philosophy on power, which is you need more than double the speaker's rating in order to provide headroom. This compression driver is rated for 150 watts, and we have 400 watts. Okay, but you can hear that there's no fatigue, there's no
It doesn't sound like it's struggling at all.
Yeah, it's not. And even what we just turned it up to is not working. It can go, I've measured it without breaking it at 128 dB.
Oh my days.
We have one customer that blew one of these woofers. We've had about 300 of these systems out so far in the last 2 years, and we've had one woofer blow. So I think that's pretty good.
That's actually insane.
Yeah, and our high frequencies, this driver here is handling 1300 hertz and up. So this handles 1300 to about 85 in a three-way setup. If you turn the sub off, and we have a tuning in it that brings us down to 50 hertz.
Wait, that's going down to 85 hertz?
85.
At that volume?
At that volume, yeah.
That little woofer there?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I can show you. And this is coming up to 100.
What is everyone else doing wrong? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because so many people have a speaker that size, and the main problem you have is you can't turn the thing up. It just struggles.
Well, I've never built a product based on the cost of trying to get it to hit a cost. I've built it based on what does it cost me to make it, and what do I have to sell it for to stay in business, right? And to make. So these are all handmade. This is a handmade wooden horn. This horn is made out of 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all of these things are made in our wood shop in Hanover, Massachusetts by a team of dedicated people who are caring about quality.
Yeah.
This is the only box that we make out of wood. This is 11-ply birch. What we found is we first were making on MDF like we do everything else, but they get moved around on meter bridges, and also we have a bunch of these in Atmos rooms, and the difference of a 25-pound speaker versus a 40-pound speaker over your head and the mounts and everything involved. So we designed it to be birch. This is a MDF-based cabinet. One of the things that we've worked on over the last few years that we discovered when we made the Duo 8, which is this little product, this product here. It looks a little bit.
I actually heard that. I can't remember what studio I was
Salt
at.
and Battery?
Yes, I was at the Battery Studios. They had those.
And they have the same sub. We also do a double 12 sub. We actually make 6 subwoofers, so everything's designed to kind of be malleable to fit the room the best it can be. And we then came up with this stand, and we can make this height whatever. So if you have a mastering style console, or if you have an SSL, also this horn can be rotated. So you unscrew these and you can flip it.
And could you put them sideways?
Yeah, I can put them sideways, so like on top of an SSL or Neve or something.
Is there a way to actually hear how that speaker sounds without the subwoofer actually?
Yeah. When we ship it, it will come with a default preamp for what we think the basics will be before tuning it. And then every system that we make generally gets tuned. So the DSP is controlling the frequency response and the tuning itself. So each amp has 3 amp channels. So you have the bass, the mid, and the high. And each of those have a 10-band EQ. And you can decide from 7 different types of filters what shape you want that to be.
That's awesome.
And I can make it from 0.01 bandwidth all the way to 5 octaves. So you can do whatever you want with the EQ. And also the crossovers can be asymmetrical. So like in this tuning, this room had a weird little hole around 120, which is a really important frequency. It'll be like 6 dB down. Like I don't want to be 6 dB down at 120. Yeah. So instead of EQing it, I took the crossover from where it was at 120, I moved it to 130.
Wait, I'm so sorry. This is going to sound so dumb. Did you design these speakers?
Yeah.
Bro, you're a legend. I didn't know I was talking to the guy who actually made the speakers.
Well, yeah,
Bro, it's an honor to meet you.
No, my pleasure,
Your speakers are like game changers. Every studio, like when we're kids and we sit down and we look at dream studios, they've all got the Augspurgers in the walls, man.
We've got 1,500 Augspurgers in the world.
You're incredible. You're doing incredible work.
Man.
I think he knows way too much about these speakers. What's going on there?
Well, I have a whole team. I don't want to take all the credit.
Yeah.
My partner in the woodworking side, he's a woodworking genius.
Yeah.
And he's been doing CNC work for 30 years. So when I first, he's been with me for the last 10 years of this 28-year journey, but we went through and redid everything to be better. And then actually a guy named Sam Martin is our chief engineer. He actually worked for Warren for 4 or 5 years, and Cassia was making him, food every day. He said if it wasn't for Cassia, he wouldn't have eaten because they didn't let him out of the studio. So the way I understand it, he still does a little stuff for you now and then, if I'm not mistaken, right? Does he still do some editing?
Yeah, we just spoke the other day about doing some mixing stuff together. Yeah.
Related to the reason we are here, you've been working with us at Audient for a very long time. and as of very recently, have an ASP 4816 Heritage Edition modelled here in your studio. Isn't that right?
That's very true, yeah. We've, I don't know when we got it. 6 months ago? Eric's not here. Where is Eric when you need him? He knows everything. No, we wanted a console. We had, in the old studio in Laurel Canyon, we had an SSL 4000 for about 12 years. And I've been blessed to own everything. I still have a Kawarek, a Kadak console. I've had a Neve 80 series console, actually 2 Neve 80 series. I've had a BCM 10. I had an API 20 channel built in 71, and I've worked in every studio you can think of. So I feel pretty good on consoles. You know, I think I know our consoles well. And ultimately, after all the years of working with various consoles, working in the box, out of the box, hybrid and all this kind of stuff, I know what I need. I don't really need flying faders. I just don't. Automation that I can do inside the box now is so much more detailed. You know, there was a time when an SSL, which I love, by the way, I'm not going to knock any of these great products at all. There was a time when to get those loud, punchy, aggressive mixes that we all loved, you had to have an SSL, didn't you? Because they were the only thing that had compression and EQ on every channel, and the mask. The beauty is now, you know, most kids with the plugins that are available can emulate that kind of loud, slamming tone. So why would you want a console, you ask yourself? Well, consoles for me, owning a schnizzle ton of outboard equipment, are a way to access that, number one. Having inserts on channels, you know, you can probably bring me down, by the way, I'm quite loud.
No, they asked me to bring it up.
Oh, okay, so I'm talking, I can get really close to you, so it's very quite loud. So, you know, so having the inserts on a channel, having global EQ on anything I sum inside of hybrid fashion is really super important to me. I need to be able to make big moves. I want stuff still on fader. I want rotary knobs purely because I want a tactile experience when I'm mixing. I have absolutely no problem with DAWs and the kind of things that we can do now. But that extra layer for me just brings a little bit of security in some ways. I have no problem with admitting there's a bit of a romance about using a console. There's also, quite frankly, somebody walks into your studio and you have a console, they're like, oh yeah, this person's serious, you know? Plus, when you're tracking, I've done it, and I've made records with tons and tons of outboard, you know, mic pre's, and don't get me wrong, I actually think the Evo, the cheapest range that Audient make, have some of the best sounding mic pre's on the market. They won't like me for saying that because they want you to buy them all, but actually these mic pre's in here are really wonderful. So it's not that you can't access really great stuff, and if your budget allows, whatever your budget allows, you can make great recordings. That's what's wonderful about it. But with a console, I have that immediacy. It's laid out for me. I don't know about you guys and girls, but I hate scrolling through banks of information, trying to find something where I can literally just go like that. I can just lean forward. I've got things labeled. It's immediate for me. And I've had this conversation many, many times about consoles. People have asked me, you know, but don't you think they're going to come and go? I'm like, you know, it's just in a way out. Maybe, but I don't think so, because I think in the live tracking world, which is not going to disappear because human beings do still like interacting together, that's where a console will always win. And for the accessibility of being able to get to your hardware easily, external hardware, a console's always going to be the easiest way. You can have your, you know, 8 or 16 input interface. You've then got to get yourself a patch bay, you've got to work around it, or you can have it just accessible and inserts or auxiliaries, and that is so much easier and quicker to do. So it's a combination of all these things. I'm not going to get into the pseudoscience of like, well, you know, it creates separation, because the reality is like, with each channel where you have, you know, component value, nothing will ever be identical. So because of that, there's always that slight kind of like shift between one channel and another, which does produce that separation that everybody says. How many times have you seen those tests where they take a mix in a box and they put them through, you know, the 16 channels and they bounce them back and they go, it sounds wider. Well, sometimes that's purely and simply because each of the component values is slightly different, and it might change the phase relationship between the high end on this channel and that channel. So you put a stereo thing from it, it creates a little bit of a width and stuff like that. it's kind of pseudoscience because it's like, is that really, what is that adding to it? But the reality is like, I like all the slight wrongness. I like things to be, not quite perfect and have a little bit. And that's what a console affords me. It affords me access where I can globally EQ, I can globally send things to reverbs and compression through inserts, through auxiliary sends, plus making headphone mixes is far more intuitive to me on a console than it is inside of a box. I don't know about you guys, I suppose if you built a template, you might be able to work around it, but when you're opening up somebody's session and they've sent it to you and they want to do a vocal overdub and you're sitting there trying to figure out how to create another mix independently for that person, where it comes up in the console and you're just like, nice! Love it. So it's the end of the video, it played a thing. Well, then we live and learn. Just being able to access that on the console and go, oh, you want some more kick drum? Boom. Or you're like scrolling through and you've got the submix faders going to here and then you've got to do it. It's just, that's the one downside of me, working purely in digital, is not being able to access things quite so immediately. Plus, the other annoying thing is like, I remember Jim Scott saying to me, I was tracking with him, we were mixing an album at, his studio's called Players with a Z, or a Z for the Americans. And he said, I can't figure out, I've got all this expensive digital equipment, and yet for some reason, when I come to monitor, I have latency. It's like, isn't computers and digital supposed to be faster? And he's like, here I have my Neve and about 400 meters worth of cabling, and when I play the guitar and put a pair of headphones on, I don't hear any audible latency. That's another thing to think about. When you're monitoring through, an analog console, you're not going to be dealing with that, having to try and figure out why there's a 2 to 20 second, millisecond latency going on in digital, which is always, So, there's many reasons. A lot of it has to do with the tactile ability, but what I love about this particular console is like a lot of the features I had on other consoles, I found completely superfluous, and made the console twice as expensive as it needed to be. And if you're really just asking me specifically why I like this console, is because it does everything that we want, and it was half the price of its competitor. It's as simple as that. It gives me access to all of my hardware. Its sounds are brilliant. It's designed by Dave Dearden, which if you don't know who that is, owned and designed DDA consoles during the 80s and 90s, which was like the quote-unquote affordable console. They're about 100 grand. But when it was like Neve and SSL, which were 250,000, DDA was like the high-end console that was closer, and it was like most studios' first venture into a high-quality console. So it's designed by somebody who really knows what they're doing. There's a rumor that there's another console manufacturer basically took this spec and built another console. You can figure that one out on your own. The point is it's bang for the buck. And it's what you actually need. It's the actual things I need, as opposed to like, well, you can do this summing thing and it goes backwards and flies over your head and sums back into this path and does that. And I'm like, so I have to pay an extra 15 grand for these features I don't need. We did a lot of research, we talked to a lot of people, we went with this because it is exactly for a guy like myself who's hybrid mixing, who does probably 75% of the mix in the box, then breaks it out and goes to hardware. It's perfect. But more importantly, I like tracking drums through it because they're all the same mic pre. And there's something beautiful about having mic pre's that all hit at the same time. It's nice when you go, I want a Neve on this, and I want an API on that, and I want a Cadic on this, and a Cadic on that. But there's always this kind of phase relationship problem that you get. The best drum sounds I ever got is when I'm tracking through one console with one style of mic pre. So it gives me mic pre's for drum tracking, and it gives me all of the choices I want for mixing and accessibility. Oh yeah, and some of the functions are pretty silly. This basic span is huge. And then there's this mixed processing stuff here. What we actually found with mixing is we push that in, push that in, push that in, and push that in, and leave them all on at the same time.
Yeah, I do that.
Like all the coloration it adds is like, why are you working in analog? You want these things that you can only get from analog. So we end up just pushing all the buttons in, Sorry, but yeah. It's funny because like I always manhandle everything. When I was mixing on SSLs only, I used to pin every meter. And then I went to hang out with Bob Clearmountain. Everything is so perfect and nothing's clipping and everything. And I'm like, who's Bob Clearmountain? He can figure it out. Me, I just like abusing things and using the sound of the console, you know. And there's the other big reason. It has a great sound. It really does impart a fantastic sound. All right, do you want to do questions or something?
Yes, please. I had a lot of questions for you, but it turns out you're psychic because you've answered literally every question I had. That is incredible. So let's turn it over to the floor. Hands up, anyone got any questions for Warren? You, sir.
Christian, do you have a question?
Christian likes the console. Christian, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Christian Kohler.
Yay!
I believe you've been using the ASP4816 Heritage Edition that's in Warren's studio currently. Recently, that's right, isn't it? Have you been feeling it?
I have also worked with a big audio console in a studio here in London last year.
Right.
And yeah, I really fell in love with it. I gotta say that. Not for mixing. I can't mix on an analog console anymore. Working on 15 projects at the same time. But for tracking drums, it was fantastic. And I gotta say, I said that in one of my videos, I've been working in quite a few studios in the last few years, mostly with SSLs. And I worked on this one, and on the bigger one, and on the SSLs. Most of the time, something wasn't really properly, something was wrong most of the time. And the recordings on the Audient console turned out to be the best sounding. And I really enjoyed, for tracking drums, being fast, being able to EQ something on the way in, being able to make headphone mixes quickly, all that kind of stuff. I'm used to doing this with a mouse, but going back to this, it's comfortable. So yeah.
I think, you know, one of the things is if anybody's watched the channel that we've been doing for a few years, is like, I see myself as like, I like the function, like, I don't own any guitars, this is the best of my ability, that have pearl inlays and fancy doves on them, or, you know, 8 extra pickups and 16 different knobs. I like function. I really do in anything. You know, if I buy anything, like the guitars I like are like the Yamaha Rev Stars, and they're like really straightforward and dumb and easy to play. If I own amplifiers, it's like 4 knobs. You know, I'm just not that guy that sits there and goes, really? I've got 47 knobs to try and make this sound? And I feel like the Audience console fits my brain. It's like really obvious. It's laid out really straightforward. Like I said earlier, it has only the features that I need. There's not anything on this that I don't want or need or use. Where some consoles, you're like, oh, it's a whole extra section. I have no idea who would use that, you know? I'm not gonna, if I move into mixing immersive, I'm not gonna mix using the console for immersive. I'm just gonna split it out and use the Audio, which is totally affordable. I don't want the console to do 1,000 things that aren't necessary, and I sure as heck don't want to pay the extra money to have something I'm not going to use.
But then again, the sound is great. So I have worked on some more colorful consoles, and I gotta say, when I pulled up the tracks I recorded on this one, it just sounded great. The EQ is great, the mic pre's are great.
There you go.
Very
simple, does the job.
Right. Simple and does the job, there you have it. Now, one more call. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes.
So inevitably,
cool hair.
Stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stuff does go wrong in the studio. What's it like when, or what are Audient like when stuff does go wrong?
A great question. Superb question. I love that question. So the thing about having produced like a pro now for, we're about to hit 10 years, which is insane because it feels like a new channel. It's like I have stopped. One of the best ways to tell whether I like a piece of equipment or not is whether I still feature them and talk about them. And the number one thing is what you just said. I might feature something and then you never hear me talk about it again, and it's probably because somebody in our community has written to me and said, it broke down, I couldn't get a hold of them, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. So if I'm still working with somebody after a few years, it's because I've not had that experience. The thing about these guys, it's like everything breaks down. Schnizzle happens. I don't know a single thing that will last forever. But if it does, they handle it professionally and quickly, and nobody in our community, and we have, inside of our paywall community, we have 2,500 people. I've never heard anybody say anything negative. Now, there's a lot of other companies, there's companies I didn't work with before until they cleaned up their act, and then there's companies I stopped working with because we got too many stuff. To me, your question is superb because that really hits the nail on the head. We've got to have credibility in this business. If we're going to talk about something consistently, a lot of it is to do with the support. It's interesting you bring that up because it's not something you can talk about in a video like, oh yeah, the support on this company. That doesn't really mean anything. Nobody gives a crap. They want to talk about the hype of what it does and doesn't do. But the thing that keeps audience head above water, keeps them profitable, keeps them is purely and simply they know how to look after people. A lot of people make great gear and it's interchangeable to a certain extent. The differentiators are build quality, number one, definitely, but also, yeah, support. I don't want somebody to work with us and with these kind of asterisks, but you can't do this and you're not allowed that, and because then it's not truly what we're trying to do, and that's build real community. Yeah. What do you think?
You've said everything and more.
I know. Poor guys are like, we don't leave us any room, you just keep talking more. Any other questions?
So have you used the Universal Audio Essentials pack? Because I did a mix, you know, for Don't Let Me Down.
Oh, great.
I've literally just done it.
Excellent.
And the LA2, it works fantastic on piano, and that now, I used to be afraid of pushing the controls.
Right.
But so I've been watching your channel since GCSE, and I've just finished my degree in music performance and recording.
Nice. Where'd you go?
London College of Music.
Lovely. Oh, good. Good job.
And I was just wondering if you've used the Essentials bundle, because I feel like not a lot of people know that it's actually on discount from £299 to 49 quid. So I decided to nab it.
I think there's certain classics that are always going to work. You know, in LA2As, whether it's hardware by our friends over there at Audioscape, or whether it's software emulations, are really beautiful. You know, the LA2A itself is a great compressor, but it has a very slow release time, so it creates a certain sound. One of the things I love on an LA2A was what I was taught. Dave Jurgen, who's a very old friend of mine, he did all the Alice in Chains records and Jane's Addiction, and for the bass tone, he plugged the DI in straight into the back of an LA2A and then cranked the gain, and that's the DI. So if you want to get the Alice in Chains, you know, Mike Arnaz kind of sound, or you want to get the, you know, Eric Avery DI sound, that's all it is, just an LA2A cranked. They definitely have an inherent sound. On piano, I imagine, you got to say?
That could be difficult with a plugin though.
Yeah, but I think that if you bring your input sensitivity down, bring your gain low, and then just abuse the input, I'm sure you'll get some kind of emulation. Yeah, but he's right. It's going to be more difficult. But my point is like they definitely have a sound. I don't think I love LA2As. I use them when it's in a blue moon. I think what you did was discover what they're really good at, like something they're really good at in a particular thing.
Drums, API going into that.
API plug into that. Yeah, that makes sense. Did you push a lot of EQ into them? So what you did is pretty much a classic thing is to boost and cut frequencies that then are going to be like squashed back in with compression, which is a little thing because there's a lot of people that talk about like don't boost, only cut. I mean, it's the same difference. If you cut a ton of frequencies, you're boosting the others because all you do is you turn up the gain to compensate for it. You know, let's not be fooled by that. You know, in analog there was a reason why people cut versus boost because of signal to noise ratio stuff, and they didn't want to like inherently bring in. But in the digital world, you can do whatever you like. Boosting is cutting, cutting is boosting. And what you did is you cut frequencies and boost frequencies past it and then put it into compression, which then squishes those boosts back down. Not only does it bring them back down, it also adds, like you said, like a sparkly kind of, probably a bit of a spankiness to it because you're taking a lot of like high frequency information, which is of course transients, and then you're pushing it back into compression, which is a very, very classic kind of like spanky sound. Like, you know, you put a compressor on a snare, boost the high end into it, and then you get that inherent attack is exaggerated, and you go from a snare that's maybe boof, boof, boof to that. Yeah, so that's what you were probably hearing, you know, you were hearing suddenly all the attack was like really, oh yeah, I like this, but it was smooth because of it, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice trick.
So everyone talks about, you know, the SSL sound,
yeah.
the Neve sound, the
yeah.
API sound when it comes to consoles. What is the Audient sound?
Oh!
I'll let you answer this one, weren't you?
Oh no, I do it. Whether you've got the Audient t-shirt on, so shouldn't you be answering that? What is...
Certainly could, but I want to hear what you think.
Okay, well, I'll address it in the reverse order. The SSL sound to me is EQ into compression. It's the channel out button. I had an SSL for decades, you know, with that one and previous ones, and worked on them many times. The sound of an SSL to me is the yellow button, channel out, EQ in. So what that does is takes the EQ, pushes it into compression like we were just talking about. So you think of Chris Alge, if you've ever seen one of his mixed breakdowns, he takes 10 and 12K and just goes crank, 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 crank across everything.
US every day, so I'm very familiar
Yeah.
with the SSL kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, curious about.
Well, I want to.
To expect from you.
Well, no, this is good. So an SSL sound to me is that EQ into compression. If you're not using it like that, you're not gaining anything from an SSL. When people just use it like a regular console and boost and cut things or whatever, I mean, it may as well be anything. It may as well be a Mackie. But when you're going, sorry, nothing personal against Mackies, but you understand what I mean? But when you're boosting into compression, that is an inherent kind of SSL thing. The only problem for me with SSLs, having had one for years, is I had to always insert things on kick drums, like my DBX 120X, because I need a subharmonic synthesizer, because the low end on an SSL is just not there. It's the mid-range console. So you see where I'm going with this conversation already. You see the outline. The thing with the audience is it's flatter across all the ranges. You're not going to have a lack of low end in there. I don't think you need to. I mean, I'd still insert the DBX 120 in there anyway because I love a subharmonic synthesizer. But I don't need to. If you saw that rough mix I did when the guys flew out to our studio, we put it out a couple of weeks ago. You'll notice that the low end was just there. The kick could just shine. My SSL was brilliant. Love it. But I had to put that in there. On my bass guitar, I had to put something API in there because there's not the hardness that I want from a bass, that da-da-da-da-da. So I used to struggle with SSL mixings and get the bass to feel like it was consistent and hard. And I remember I spoke to Shelley Yakuts, who was a famous SSL mixer, an old friend of mine, and he mixed Under a Blood Red Sky by U2. And it was like one of my favorite live mixes, and it was live. It was one of those few live albums that actually was the band performing. God bless U2. Totally live album. And I said to him, how'd you get the bass to sound so good? I always struggle with SSLs. And he goes, I just inserted an API line amp in there. And I was like, there you go. I'm glad that I feel vindicated. So to answer your question, the advantage of an SSL is that EQ into compression. The disadvantage to the SSL is the low end that I'm always finding from other sources by bringing in a DBX 120, or using an API line amp on my bass. Those are things that most, as you can tell, major mixers know, and they put in their racks and all this kind of stuff. But if you're talking about a console that's just going to deliver across the board, that's why we like this console. I do like inserting stuff and using lots of different, outboard stuff, but that's because I have all this gear that I like playing with. But if I'm going to tell you honestly, you can work in the box and then just output it through here, I think you're going to get a much flatter response with a lot more low end. And I'm not talking about excessive build-up kind of stuff you have to scoop out. The thing with the Neve, and I've owned several Neves, I had an 8048, 8028, 8068, and 8058 was the one I had for most time. And I loved that console very, very much. But I'd always struggle mixing through it after tracking through it because the low and low-mid build-up I got from all the transformers, I ended up just removing it. So you track through it and it goes down sounding phenomenal. And if you play it back just on your 2-bus inside your DAW, it's the best thing ever. But when you put it back through the console, you're now doubling up all those additional transformers and all those line amps and stuff, which you love on the way in, but now you're sitting there like running on your DAW dynamic EQs and cutting this and cutting that just to compensate for it twice. So you see those two consoles are both amazing, the SSL and the Neve, but they have the things that you work around. This is a modern console that has already sort of thought beyond that. So it doesn't have excessive low mid and low end build-up. It doesn't have a lack of low end. That's pretty much the quick answer. And then I can do all the fiddly stuff inside, a DAW, which is so much easier to do. Hardware de-essing, give me a break. Hardware multi-band compression, give me a break. The plugins that you can get now for like $29 do what used to cost us like You go in a studio and go, oh my God, that reverb's amazing. It's $12,000. And now you get the Liquid Sonics, you know, Bricasti, you know, M7, what do they call it, the Heaven, Seventh Heaven, and you just get like all the same reverbs that you used to spend, you know, $1 bazillion to get. Sorry, Bricasti, I'm not trying to, but you know what I mean, it's lovely having the hardware. But we're in a different world, so I want something that's flat and is colourful enough, but not colourful in a way that's going to negatively impact my mixes. Good.
When people say it's a clean sounding console, it always sounds kind of boring. I would call it a very forgiving or easy to use console. I remember when I tracked drums on this one, I was trying like what happens if I push the mic pre's and lower the fader and do it the other way around, and it just all worked. You know, it just all worked. It doesn't really color the sound in any way. It just all worked. And I have made the opposite experience. I remember working at Sunset Sound in LA, for example, where I could not get rid of all the added
low mid build up, color,
saturation.
He wasn't happy.
I wasn't happy. So when I came back to your studio and listened back on my Odyssey headphones, I was like, oh, that's what it sounds like. This.
Because he wasn't listening for it going back through the console. He was listening to the additional color, but not the doubled up color coming back through. Which, so, where a console like this, you can track and mix on it without having to sit there going, yeah.
And you simply get a great signal coming out of this one, and easy to use. And I gotta say, especially if you're on a job where you don't have a lot of time, where things just have to work, I prefer something like this.
So it's a wrap.
So
was that fun?
It was so fun. Honestly, if you didn't come this year, make sure you come next year. Absolutely incredible. I loved it. I loved the equipment. I love gear. So
packing up. Gearfest 2024 is over and out. It is 6:15. It closes at 6 o'clock. Yeah, we had a blast. Come here next year. Come here next year.
Come here next year.
I blow it, and I know it, and I hope I don't blow it. Thanks, everyone.
Hilarious.
Thanks, Rob.